So pictures have surfaced of Errol, the true Big Fish Spence Jr. and down in Oak Cliff, Texas, in the Inferno. Right now, fans say simply because he's outside training in that hot Texas heat, Terence Crawford is already beat. Errol Spence Jr. doing what he always does. He's training in Oak Cliff, Texas. It's always hot in Texas. This is nothing special. This is nothing different, right? This is mental training, right? This is something that helped build. This is probably part of the reason why Spence is so tough mentally. Training in high temperatures, things of that nature, takes some mental fortitude to do that for long durations. But is it going to be a factor for him in the fight? I don't know. But Timothy Bradley seems to believe that the judging could be a factor in the fight. He's concerned about the Las Vegas judges going into this Spence Crawford fight. Check out what Timothy Bradley had to say.
Concerns. I really do. And the first thing that came to mind is can Crawford win a decision in Vegas? You have to understand this. Look at the history of Crawford and the way he starts fights. He's a bit of a slow starter, and you think about the way Spence starts.
See, he starts slow, but it depends on how fast that guy is starting off too. And Amir Khan started off fast and high. Well, we saw what happened. Kell Brook came out pretty fast. He still got up out of there. So I don't know, right? I don't really think that it's gonna necessarily go to decision. I don't think this fight's gonna go to decision.
Fights. He's quick out the gate. He's consistent with his offense. And going down the stretch, if he gets behind on the scorecards, Crawford, he's gonna need a knockout to win in Vegas. And you got to understand that the history of the judging in Vegas. I remember the Floyd Mayweather era where defense was, thought to be great, and you were getting points for defense. Mm-hmm. But now it has shifted. Now it's more about the aggressive fighter, the fighter that throws more punches. That's what I'm seeing from Vegas judges now. Guys that are in your face, pressing the action, being the aggressor. And we know Spence is that guy. So that's my concern moving forward in this fight. But concerns.
So Timothy Bradley, as we know, has been pretty pro Crawford going into this fight, even for years. This Crawford's like big bro, basically, right? But he's has concerns because of the judges. Now, me personally, I ain't worried about no judging. This is just something for the storyline, for the fight. Could Crawford, will Errol Spence come out hot against Terence Crawford? And will Terence Crawford look up and he's down on the scorecards and he has to make something big happen late in the fight against a guy like Errol Spence Jr.? Will that be a scenario? Who knows, man? There's many different scenarios, many different ways this fight could play out. But one guy I see winning is Terence Bud Crawford. Because of the styles. It's just a style thing for me. I don't think the size is going to play a factor. I mean, Errol Spence is a bigger guy, but you also going to be a bigger target. How's your speed? How's your speed going to be after this point, at this long, right? You're supposed to be the bigger guy. You're cutting down in weight. You're fighting at the smaller weight class with the smaller guy who's going to be naturally, he may not be naturally the bigger guy, but he's going to be naturally the faster guy. Right, so Terence Crawford is going to have he should have a tremendous speed advantage over Errol Spence Jr. Not to mention Terence Crawford strong as an ox. I don't really think the size is going to be a factor. Terence Crawford's known as a pretty hard puncher. He's regarded as one of the best finishers in the game. I'm not sure if Spence is getting hit and countered by Crawford. How will his chin hold up? How will his mentality hold up with the PTSD and everything that he claims he has? Now let's see what else Timothy had to say about holes in Errol Spence's game that Terence Crawford could exploit.
That he could take advantage, Crawford could, of holes in Errol Spence's offense. What are they?
Well, some of the holes are he lunges. Sometimes he takes chances when he shouldn't have.
Yes, Errol Spence lunges, and this is something that I've been saying for a while. That Errol Spence, at times, he could lunge in. He lunges in, and fortunately for him, he's been in there with dudes who doesn't have the reach advantage over him, who isn't quite as athletic as him. Now, Sean Porter matches athleticism, and Sean Porter was arguably the more athletic fighter, and we saw how that fight was played out. Sean Porter had Spence going backwards at times, and Spence can't fight very well going backwards. Um, yeah, so he lunges in. He did it in the Ugas fight quite a bit. Ugas just wasn't as um, he's not a counter puncher. So that's a glaring, obvious hole I've seen in Errol Spence's game when he does that. And then he kind of sometimes he stays in close, and he stays in and he throws this awkward little body shot he throws. He can get really sloppy at times, Errol Spence. He can get sloppy at times.
Lunge forward, he'll get himself out of position. He comes back to position, straight on the line most of the time.
Yep, he goes straight back. In a line, he don't really move his head too much. Right, his head is kind of on a straight line for the most part.
And he's pretty predictable with his offense.
That's one of the main things. Predictability. The biggest difference between these two fighters, in my opinion, is one guy is predictable, the other guy isn't. One guy has the textbook, the traditional boxing textbook. Another guy has his own book. So yeah, Errol Spence is very, very straightforward. You know what he's gonna do. It's a matter of whether you can stop it or not. He really is like the Tim Duncan of boxing. He's very fundamentally sound. It's not really flashy. It's not really fun, but it's going to get the job done, right? But for Terence Crawford, you don't know what he's going to do, right? He approaches every fight differently. So you really don't know what Crawford's going to do. And I think depending on what Spence does, that's what Crawford's going to do, right? So when they say he start off slow, I think it's just him trying to, okay, what this guy doing in here? Because then I'm going to handle it accordingly. So I don't think Spence has one of those complicated approaches to where Crawford is going to have to really take some rounds to figure it out. I don't think Spence has the hand speed advantage or anything like that to where Crawford is going to have to figure it out. I don't think he's going to have he's not necessarily an awkward fighter to where, oh man, this punch may come from this angle, I don't even see it coming. Now, Spence is not necessarily like that. Spence isn't gonna, unless Spence changes in this fight and start doing things he never done before that's gonna surprise everybody. We kind of know what Spence is gonna do. He's gonna come in, he's gonna put that jab in Bud's face, he's gonna attack the body in the process, and he's going to try to keep pushing him back until he eventually wears him out and eventually try to get the stoppage. So we know what Spence is going to do. I think that same approach is something that Crawford is very familiar with.
Definitely is prolific. It got him. He's undefeated. He has 3 world championships, and he was able to earn it fighting the way he fights. But Crawford, being as so cerebral as he is in reading fighters and understanding and seeing weaknesses, I think he'll be able to figure out the pattern at which Spence like to approach these fights and take advantage again of guys that strictly lunge towards his opponents with his great countering ability.
So yeah, Errol Spence does lunge quite a bit. He lunges in. He can't afford to make that mistake against Terence Crawford. He can't afford to make a lot of these rookie mistakes that he's been making in these guys that's not as hungry as Crawford, right? Danny Garcia chilling. Oh, I got him. We know Danny living good. Ugas, we know he living good. Oh, I got him. Crawford, yeah, he living good, but he's a little bit more modest about it. And he has goals that he's really one step away from. 2-time undisputed champion. You think this dude is not gonna come up in here trying to knock your head off, bro? You think Crawford's gonna just stand in the middle of the ring and let Ugas, like Ugas did, and just let Spence go to work? No, that's not about to happen, bro. Spence is gonna have to be on his A game, and Spence is looking like he's in shape. right? Errol Spence is looking like he's in shape right now. So, yeah, will the size be the factor for Crawford? Will Crawford start off too slow in this fight to where he looks up and he's down on the cards? All right, we don't know, man. There's so many different ways this thing could play out. I do believe that Terence Crawford will be able to figure Errol Spence out. Unless Errol Spence comes up in there and just does something just totally different. I think Errol Spence's approach, I think his style is something easier to prepare for than even a guy like Shawn Porter. Right? Shawn Porter is one of those dudes who he's just rough and tough. And, you know, he may try to box. He may try to bully you. You know, he may try to tackle you. You know, so Shawn Porter is one of those. I think his style was a little bit more complicated to figure out than a guy like Spence. We know what Spence is going to do. It's just a matter if you can deal with it. But yeah, you guys, Errol Spence Jr. down there doing his thing in Texas, getting prepared for July 29th, the smoke session of the Fish Fry. You know, Terence Bud Crawford, he's out here. He's still doing his thing. We already know Terence Bud is already in shape going into this fight. We already seen Crawford in shape weeks prior, and we don't expect nothing less from Terence Bud Crawford. You know, he's always going to be in shape. He's always going to be ready to go. You know, this is the big one for Bud. This is the big one for Terence Crawford, for him to really kind of put a stamp on his legacy, to show everybody that it really is what you're seeing. It is what it is. And it's up to Errol Spence Jr. to stop it. But yeah, you guys, Timothy Bradley shares his concerns. He thinks that Crawford may end up having to get a knockout in Las Vegas. But he also believes that Terence Crawford will be able to capitalize on Errol Spence's weaknesses. Tell me what you guys think. Like, subscribe, holla at your boy. Peace out.